Welcome back to RetroWheelsVault, where horsepower never dies. Today we're diving headfirst into a car that's more than just chrome and steel. It's a rolling time capsule of attitude and American grit. Another classic unlocked, another beast revived. We're talking about the 1969 Plymouth Satellite Sport, a machine that didn't just drive, it growled. Now, quick heads up to all my longtime viewers, this one might look familiar. That's because we're revisiting this classic due to some copyright turbulence that hit the original video harder than a Hemi in third gear. So, we're firing it up again, fresh, original, some new information, and still burning rubber. The Satellite Sport is the kind of ride that makes modern cars look like wind-up toys, because modern cars forgot what muscle means. This thing wasn't built to whisper, it was built to roar. It's got the bones of a bruiser and the heart of a street-fighting V8 legend. So buckle in, grab your motor oil scented candles, and let's take a trip back to '69, a time when cars had character, carburetors, and just the right amount of chrome attitude. Now here's a spicy little surprise from mid-year '69. An option so mean it sounded like a back alley brawl just reading the spec sheet. Option A12. This wasn't just an upgrade. It was a full-blown street fighter in a satin robe. Under the hood, legendary 440 cubic inch V8 6 BBL. That's 3 two-barrel Holley carburetors, for those keeping score anyway. Because apparently one carburetor was for rookies, 2 was for the ambitious, but 3? That was straight up chaos in cast iron. The A12 Satellite didn't waste time on pretty. No wheel covers, no chrome fluff, just 15 by 6 inch black stamped steel wheels, chrome lug nuts, and the kind of stands that said, "I eat Mustangs for breakfast." And that black fiberglass lift-off hood? Not hinged. Lift-off. It was held down by 4 hood pins, crowned by a massive scoop that sealed tight to the air breather like a wrestler locked in a chokehold. And let's not forget about those bright red 446 BBL stickers screaming from each side like battle flags. This wasn't just a satellite. It was a war machine dressed like a factory option. Subtle? Not even a little. Effective? Oh, absolutely. And boy, did it make an impression. Let's talk design, and trust me, the 1969 Plymouth Satellite Sport didn't just show up to the party. It parked out front and dared everyone else to try looking cooler. With its clean, sculpted lines and the classic long hood, short deck profile, this car wasn't trying to be flashy. It was just naturally good looking. Kind of like that quiet kid in class who ends up being a rock star. Plymouth nailed the proportions. The Y stance, subtle creases along the fenders, and that no-nonsense front grille said one thing: I can punch, but I don't need to brag about it. The quad headlights stared down the road like a hawk on a hunt, while just enough chrome was sprinkled in to catch the sun without screaming midlife crisis. Built on Chrysler's beefy B-body platform, the Satellite Sport was solid, like brick house solid. It didn't creak, it didn't complain, it just kept on rolling like a tank in a tuxedo. And thanks to its steel-heavy construction, it could take a beating and come back for more, which made it just as much a warrior as a cruiser. If form ever followed function, the 1969 Satellite Sport made sure both showed up looking both sharp and ready to brawl. Now let's pop the hood and see what kind of fury the 1969 Plymouth Satellite Sport was packing. Spoiler alert, it wasn't here to play nice. Started things off, you had the trusty 318 cubic inch V8, putting out a respectable 230 horsepower. Think of it as the polite cousin at the family barbecue. Reliable, well-mannered, but still strong enough to haul your ego down the highway with a smile. But if you wanted your Satellite to stop whispering and start shouting, the 383 V8 was your ticket to the muscle car league. With outputs ranging from 290 to 330 and even 335 horses when equipped with the Carter-type AVS 4-barrel model 4615S carburetor, this version had a mean streak. It didn't just growl, it barked. This engine turned your everyday drive into a demolition derby with manners. And then there was a 440 cubic inch V8, a thunderstorm in engine form. Cranking out 375 ponies, it was less daily driver and more wake the neighbors and scare the birds. Smooth, brutal, and endlessly satisfying, it turned pavement into a playground. Whichever engine you chose, the Satellite Sport never forgot what its job was: to haul like hell and look good doing it. So, you got the power, but how do you put it to the pavement? The 1969 Plymouth Satellite Sport had a drivetrain and transmission lineup that could go from Sunday cruise to Saturday night drag strip without breaking a sweat, or a drive shaft. Standard issue was a 3-speed manual, perfect for those who like to row their own gears and feel connected to the road. It was like driving with your sleeves rolled up. Simple, honest, and effective. But if you wanted a little more fire in your shift game, the 4-speed manual was where the fun really started. Mashed with a pistol grip shifter, it made every gear change feel like cocking the hammer on a Magnum revolver. Now, if you preferred your power without the leg workout, Plymouth had your back with the 3-speed TorqueFlite automatic. A transmission so smooth it could charm your grandmother and still take on a burnout competition. TorqueFlite was famous for being tough as nails, shifting clean under pressure, and ready to handle anything from the 318 to the brutal 440. Rear-wheel drive, of course, because this was real-deal muscle. Front-wheel drive didn't get invited to this party just yet. This setup was pure old school, just the way we like it. Underneath that steel skin, the 1969 Plymouth Satellite Sport rode on Chrysler's rock-solid B-body platform, the same legendary bones that supported the Roadrunner and GTX. It was like the denim jacket of Mopar engineering. Tough, dependable, and always in style. This thing was built to take punishment and come back swinging, whether you were carving through town or lighting up at the lights. Up front, the suspension featured upper and lower A-arms with longitudinal torsion bars, a setup that was pretty advanced for its time. Instead of your typical coil springs, you had these steel bars twisted like oversized pretzels, absorbing the bumps and keeping the things planted. It gave the Satellite a ride that was surprisingly smooth, almost like floating on a firm couch made of horsepower. Out back, classic muscle moves. A live axle riding on semi-elliptical leaf springs. Not the fanciest setup in the world, but when it came to delivering straight-line torque and durability, it got the job done like a bricklayer with vengeance. Sure, it wasn't the corner-carving king, but it was perfect for burnouts, drag launches, and laying down rubber on any street dumb enough to challenge it. Built tough, tuned for fun, this chassis didn't mess around. Slide into the 1969 Plymouth Satellite Sport and you're slipping into a time capsule where simplicity met subtle swagger. Inside, passengers are greeted with an interior that was more functional than flashy, but it still had style where it counted. Think of it like a leather jacket. Tough, practical, and just cool enough to turn heads. Seating came in plush vinyl or optional premium cloth depending on your trim and taste. Whether you were cruising with your arms stretched across the bench seat or nestled into a set of bucket seats, the Satellite made sure you were doing it in comfort. The dashboard was classic Mopar, straightforward and uncluttered, with big, easy-to-read gauges that didn't need a manual to decode. Tech-wise, for 1969, the Satellite came with some surprisingly advanced features. Optional power steering made tight turns and parking lot maneuvers feel less like a workout and more like a glide. Want tunes? You could get yourself an AM/FM radio, maybe even an 8-track if you were living large. No touchscreens, no Bluetooth, no beeping every time you got too close to a mailbox. Just the essentials. The Satellite Sports cabin was a driver's domain. No distractions, just you, the machine, and the open road. Now let's talk about what kept all that Mopar muscle from turning into a smoke show without direction. The 8 3/4 rear end. This wasn't just any old axle setup. This was the kind of hardware you'd trust in a backlit drag race or a high-speed highway run. Equipped with 3.23 short grip gears, it offered a beautiful balance, punch acceleration up the line, and smooth, fuel-friendly cruising once you hit the open road. It was like having a bouncer who could also ballroom dance. Tough, but surprisingly refined. The short grip limited slip differential meant both rear wheels got in on the action when it was time to launch, keep you planted, and prevented one tire fire embarrassment. Because let's be honest, nothing says weekend warrior fail like spinning only one wheel at a stoplight showdown. And when it came to rein in all that horsepower, you had the option of front disc brakes. Compared to the standard drums, these were like trading in a handshake for a firm grip. They gave the Satellite real stopping power, especially useful when your right foot got a little too excited. In short, grip, go, and stop. All handled with Mopar confidence and classic American attitude. Let's pick up the tape measure and get a sense of just how much steel Plymouth was working with in 1969. The Satellite Sport wasn't some compact city car. It was a full-size slice of American muscle with a footprint to match. At 204 inches long, this beast could stretch across a driveway like it owned the place. Which, let's face it probably did. With a width of 76.4 inches, it had shoulders broad enough to make parking a game of inches and intimidation. Standing 53 inches tall, it kept a low, mean stance, hugging the road like it had a grudge to settle. Underneath, the 116-inch wheelbase gave it the stability of a freight train. Great for highway cruising, straight-line launches, and soaking up bumps without turning your spine into a tuning fork. As for weight, it tipped the scales anywhere between 3,200 to 3,600 pounds, depending on engine and other options. Now, that's not exactly featherweight, but when you've got a V8 Thunder under the hood, who's counting? The Satellite Sport was big, bold, and built like a barroom brawler in a tailored suit. Wide enough to look tough, long enough to mean business, and heavy enough to plant its power where it mattered most, the pavement. The 1969 Plymouth Satellite Sport came to the fight with plenty of muscle, but like any classic brawler, it had its strengths, and a few soft spots. First, the good stuff. The Satellite Sport was a jack of all trades in the Mopar lineup. It had powerful engine options from the dependable 318 to the fire-breathing 440. You got rock-solid B-body construction, a comfortable ride thanks to the torsion bar front suspension, and enough room to haul your friends, your gear, and maybe just your oversized ego. The 8 3/4 sure grip rear end made it a straight-line hero, and optional front disc brakes meant it could actually stop when your foot caught too much lead. Now the flip side, handling? Let's just say the Satellite was more at home in a straight line than it was dancing through the twisties. The live-rear axle and semi-elliptical leaf springs made corners feel like suggestions, not commitments. Interior tech was minimal by today's standards. If it didn't help it go or stop, Plymouth wasn't interested. But hey, this car wasn't built to be delicate. It was built to rumble, roar, and rule the boulevard. If you wanted subtle sophistication, you bought a Buick. And if you want attitude, you bought a Satellite. So there you have it, the 1969 Plymouth Satellite Sport. A muscle car that didn't need stripes or spoilers to prove it meant business. It was the kind of ride that showed up in denim and boots while everyone else was busy polishing their chrome. Whether you want a reliable V8 grunt, a ride tough enough to soak up punishment, or just something that looked cooler than anything in your neighbor's driveway, the Satellite delivered. Loud, proud, and unapologetically Mopar. Sure, it wasn't the flashiest or the fastest in the family, but it had heart, muscle, and more curb presence than a modern SUV ever could. This was a car built for the road, not the showroom floor. And now that you've revisited it without any copyright hiccups, you can enjoy the full, unfiltered Satellite experience the way it was meant to be. Now here's the real question. Would you take a Satellite Sport over a Roadrunner or a GTX? Or is this sleeper just too clean to ignore? Let me know in the comments. I'll read every one. If you enjoyed this deep dive redo, smash that like button, subscribe for more muscle car madness, and as always, keep it loud, keep it classic. Catch you in the next ride.